Hey everyone, Michael Short here. Come on, let's go outdoors. Well, it is getting to that time of season where once again hunters are going to be heading out, and I guess more and more hunters are turning to archery and the various forms of archery equipment that are available out there, and getting out into the backcountry and taking on a hunting challenge in a different way. And to sort of give us a little bit more information about bow hunting in Alberta, a real pleasure to welcome the longtime president. Maybe he's the longtime suffering president of the Alberta Bowhunters Association, Brent Watson. Brent, thanks so much for taking time out and chatting with us today.
Yeah, appreciate it, Michael. Always good to chat. And yeah, it has been a long time. This will
It's
be
been
going into 20 years here now. So,
Yeah, it has been since you took the reins, and maybe we start there. Talk a little bit how your association has evolved from 20 years ago when you stepped in.
yeah, I think more or less there's a lot of similarities. People are passionate about bow hunting and stuff, and so that passion is always there. There's been challenges as we move along. I think every organization has those same challenges. Technology with how you conduct an organization. We've had to do things a little differently, but in the end, it's all made things more efficient, more beneficial to membership, to volunteers that want to get involved in an organization. We've just gone through some major work the last, I would say, 18 months with bylaw updates. We hired a lawyer a few years ago to go through all the bylaws, bring that up, legal ramifications of everything. Insurance was another big issue. Um, Lots of organizations, clubs are finding things tougher as far as insurance goes. More premiums, less coverage, more technicalities, more complicated, and it's really impacted a lot of archery clubs that we've seen. I remember, 20 years ago, we had, 20 to 25 different archery clubs affiliated with the ABA. And we've just undergone kind of a membership initiative here where we've reached out to, we're still in the process, reaching out to every archery club in Alberta, every archery shop, sporting goods dealers, with a program to offer ABA memberships, at a discounted rate, what we can do. We've got benefits to clubs, we got all those things. But the number of archery clubs in the province has dropped significantly. And I think that's just a factor of the present day. There's more liability. There's more, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to this. So you really got to, have your ducks in a row. You got to have insurance. You got to be registered with the society's branch. All the old archery clubs that just had, Bob and Sally got together and got a group of people to go to the curling rink in the wintertime or in the summertime, or a hall, and just put up targets and have people shoot, and we'll have a club. Well, those days are long gone. And I think it's really impacted things, across the province that way.
In terms of actual members and actual people taking up the sport, though, Brent, has that been impacted as well?
Yeah, for sure. We've seen, I think back when I first became president, I think there was roughly around 11,000 bow hunters in Alberta, resident bow hunters. And last year, there was just over 24,000. So in 20 years, we've doubled. There's been a steady increase. You look over the years, a steady increase in the number of bow hunters every year. The ladies component of the bow hunting community is really, really risen. And lots of youth are getting involved, which is, those are all real positive signs.
Obviously, the sport itself lends itself to an indoor activity. I mean, you've got the archery kids programs in junior high and high schools.
Mhm.
As you've mentioned, some of the clubs that did do indoor archery, whether it be 3D or target, it is a sport that you don't necessarily have to be a hunter to participate in, but it sounds like it's becoming a tougher thing to get involved with.
Yeah, I think the what would you call it? Like the avenues for people to get introduced has dropped off just because of the lack of archery clubs. But with the internet and YouTubes and all those kind of things, there's lots of fish and game clubs that offer archery. So it's not strictly an archery club that's out there promoting archery. AHIA does a phenomenal job on the promotion of archery and bow hunting, and so there's lots of good positive things that way that are still promoting people to get into it. And then with COVID, I think we all seen that with the huge uptick in hunter numbers during COVID, that people wanted to get their own meat. They wanted to be able to do something, and archery and bow hunting is typically an outside it's activity anyway. So the numbers really jumped, and we've seen now that the numbers have kind of dropped off again after that. Even hunting license sales, fishing license sales after COVID, they've kind of dropped off. But yeah, it's a real it's one of the big segments of the hunting world, I guess, that has seen steady increase, and I can't see any reason why it won't continue that way.
In terms of the work that you're doing behind the scenes, Brent, obviously there's, uh, I guess one of the advantages of joining the Alberta Bowhunters Association is that, your membership money helps you folks do the work that's necessary in terms of ensuring hunting opportunities right across the province on a number of different game animals as you guys get together with your government counterparts to discuss allotment numbers and all of that type of thing.
Yeah, that's a huge component with the Alberta Bowhunters. That's in our objectives and our all that kind of stuff. And sadly, since COVID hit, those kind of collaborative meetings with government and stakeholders has pretty much stopped. The last meeting we had, was December of 2019, and there was a lot of recommendations from, the we call it the Ag Pack back then. It was the Alberta Game Policy Advisory Council. So lots of stakeholders, senior government. We met 2-3 times a year, subcommittees, a lot of work on ideas and regulation change and policy and all those kind of things. And we had a bunch of recommendations that were going forward to be released to the public in April of that year, or the following year. And then ultimately maybe decisions made in the minister to sign off on some pretty key initiatives. And then COVID hit. And so things just stalled. And, all the groups want to get back to that style of meeting. And senior government and Minister Lohan has indicated he'd like to get back to that. But we just have to get, through that door again. And so I think, there's real value in meeting other stakeholders at a table and discussing their point of view, explaining yours, seeing what the legalities and the hurdles within government and regulation and all that kind of stuff, that kind of gets in the way sometimes, but it's really valuable. And then you can take that information and take it back to your respective memberships and say, this is what we're working on. These are the counter arguments to our argument, and this is what we're up against. And it really opens up the lines of communication, and it stops not all, I guess, but really helps with the coffee shop talk, at the rumors floating around, and this is that, and this is what that was said, and we can put a stop to that. So that one of the big benefits out of that is just the communication, and then ultimately, hopefully, you can make a difference and have a change made in regulation. We were lucky. There was one item in the docket, I guess, for a bunch of years, and we presented our case and stuff. And one of the recommendations that we started on back in about 2014 was to lower the minimum draw weight from 40 pounds to 35 pounds. So we built a case, other jurisdictions, what they do. We had information from PSE on bow energy and efficiencies dating back to like the 1960s when this regulation surfaced, and nobody knew why 40 pounds was picked, but it was. And then we could show that the equipment that we have today has, at 35 pounds, had more energy and efficiency than the equipment back in the day, and they set the 40 pounds. So we had a pretty good argument there, and the stakeholders agreed, and government agreed, and so we'll see that in the regulations coming up in the fall of 2024, a drop to 35 pounds. So that just brings more youngsters into it. Ladies, us old, getting old guys that can't pull that weight, as much anymore. It kind of keeps us in the game too. So
Absolutely. Outside, I mean, that is a significant move in terms of as you say, opening the door for more people with different physical capabilities to get involved in the sport. Next to that, Brent, what would be sort of the number one issue that you as an organization are looking for dialogue with the government on?
yeah, so we're kind of hoping, and there's some things happening now that are kind of nudging forward to resuming these meetings, and so we're kind of working on that and other groups, and I think it's just getting the impetus from senior government that, okay, we're going to do it, we're going to commit to it now, and this is how we're going to do it. But the one big thing, and we've been lobbying and for that again back to about 2014, is for an archery season draw regime. So what that would do is any species that, so bow hunters are on kind of a 15% harvest limit. So when bow hunters exceed that 15% harvest share, we require the draw to hunt that species in that WMU during the archery season. So what happens though is that bow hunters are usually on a general bow hunting license for that. You can hunt in the archery season on a general license. And when you go to a draw, you haven't built up any priorities for that draw. So basically you're going in competing with other hunters for a draw tag, and you don't have any priority points. So we've seen a huge reduction in opportunity. Like 10 years ago, we lost a lot of WMUs with antlered mule deer. You required the draw to hunt the archery season. There was 51 WMUs that went to that, and we went to almost zero bow hunting opportunity because nobody had priority points built up to take advantage of that. So we were building up a bunch of information. We ran a bunch of different models, and so our recommendation, and it was, accepted widely with the stakeholder groups and stuff, and then COVID nixed the whole series of recommendations. But the idea is to create an archery season draw in those circumstances where there's a certain amount of allocated tags that go to that archery season draw. It would come off the general draw tags. In all the cases where the draws were implemented, there was an increase in the allocation tags. So clawing back a few for the archery season draw wouldn't have an impact on the general tag numbers for that draw. So what would happen is you would have a choice. You could either put in for the archery season draw or you put in for the general draw. And if you put in for the archery season draw, you can only hunt that species in that WMU for that archery season. So like up here in the Northwest, you would get about a 3-week archery season, and then your tag would be over. So it would just be a way to claw back some of that opportunity. And, we had lots of meetings with government and stakeholders and subcommittee meetings and presenting all this information, and everybody seemed to be on board with it. And then COVID hit, and then we're kind of sitting waiting to get the discussions back going and see what we can, if we can advance that. But that would be the biggest one.
Well, it sounds like some important dialogue still lies ahead of you, and hopefully yeah, hopefully the folks over under the dome can see the value in sitting down and meeting with you guys face to face. It sounds like an important step that needs to be taken. Before I let you go, one of the big things that's taking place with you folks is you're pushing coming into spring and there's always excitement around that time of year. And you've got some interesting raffles taking place for members to participate in.
Yeah, it's so we embarked on a bit of an ambitious fundraising initiative about a year and a half ago. And, you talk to other organizations, they're in the same boat. Just the cost of doing business has gone up so much, and we don't want to put that burden on fundraising on the membership. So the membership dues have pretty much stayed the same for the last 20 years plus. So it's very affordable. So we embarked on this fundraising raffle and idea, and we used to do it by paper, fill out tickets, mail tickets, all that stuff. And with the electronic raffle system now, it is so easy to do these raffles. So it takes a burden off the volunteer base. So we've embarked on that, and what we wanted to do is create raffles that have really good prizes. Your odds of winning are pretty good, and the cost of tickets is very reasonable. And we've had really, really good luck. And so we've been running the last little bit. We've done 2 e-bike raffles through Vamoose out of Edmonton. They're an Alberta-based company, so parts and warranty and all that stuff is really easy to get. So we've had 2 real successful raffles with them. We've done some wall tent and accessories raffles, and we just launched one here on yesterday, and we're already at about 20% sold out. And it's a real good package, a deluxe wall tent with all the trimmings and everything you need outside of food and firewood. So it's been a real popular raffle. So we've got a couple more that'll come out, through the year. But yeah, the raffles, and I think a lot of organizations are seeing the value in the raffles. You have good prizes that are attractive to a wide audience, and you keep your tickets reasonable, and your odds are good. And I think a lot of organizations are finding it's a good way to raise much needed dollars.
All right, Brent, we'll wrap it up there. Wish you continued success and the great work that you and your many volunteers on your board are doing on behalf of all bow hunters across Alberta, and continued success with the raffle scenario. That sounds like a lot of fun. I better get my ticket in. Brent, thanks so much for your time here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, Michael. Anytime.